Back in the 90s, the comic book bubble crashed. It was hard for everyone to adjust. The dark age of comics has happened, though I don't like calling it the dark age. There's probably better. I like the Iron Age, honestly. That sounds cool. The Iron Age. Can we start using that? But moving on from terms comic book fans have literally glued into their brains. In the 90s, not everything was going well for a lot of comic companies, and they really needed some, well, they decided to start kicking it old school, as it were. You see, the Justice League title was in kind of a weird rut at the time. You see, the Justice League used to be about the big dogs of DC Comics, and for years, it was a bunch of C-listers. Now, while I enjoy the Justice League Keith Giffen era so much, that's going to get its own video in the future. It's great. I love it. Another run came in to take its place, to cement the JLA again as the Big Seven. This is the 90s Justice League of America run, the JLA title, the title that really made DC Comics in the 90s. Now, when people talk about major comic book runs, this is often on them. It's by Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison is amazing. I love their work. I have New X-Men, Doom Patrol, other things, Animal Man. Why did I say other things before Animal Man? I love Animal Man. Either way, that's how we do things here at Exalted Speed. But you should know why JLA is kind of this cool title. So, let me explain. When I say comic books were in a rut, I mean it. They were kind of like the bubble burst. A lot of speculators were like, comics aren't going to pay for my college. That was a scam. But I'll still pick up first issues because I'm a whore. Anyway, besides that, that was the whole thing. So DC really needed a big book again. And you have to understand, the reason the JLA didn't exist, a bunch of them were under different editorial teams. Like, Batman's editorial team was so protective of everyone in that area. You know, like, they were, like, obsessed with the idea that Batman was an urban legend, and was like, nobody knows that Batman exists. Except he was on a bunch of these teams. And has been caught on camera. Batman doesn't exist. That was the 90s for you. But that was, like, the whole problem. A lot of these editorial teams just did not want this team together. They wanted control, blah, blah, blah. You basically, it was like a Game of Thrones level. Oh, God, I hate referencing Game of Thrones. It was basically like you had a bunch of these houses. They were fighting against each other. Like, you have the Titans against the Batman offices because the Titans had control of Nightwing, and it's like, God, we just want to have Dick Grayson. Give us Dick Grayson. And that's 90s DC for you. It was just like a bunch of people being like, we want that. No, we want that. We'll have it. And just fights and fights and fights over what they get. It was chaotic. But it led to some wonderful, amazing comics of the era. Either way, that was 90s DC. And this is the era JLA came out in, where basically they wanted a big book that would get people excited. And this team, made up of the original 7 Justice League members, okay, technically it wasn't the original 7, I mean, Wally West was the Flash at that point, and Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern, was there. Yeah, I love Kyle. I'm a Kyle Rayner fan. We here at this channel love ourselves the Crab Mask. We will defend that Crab Mask, yes. But I like all the other Lanterns, too. This isn't like, oh, fuck Hal, fuck John, fuck Guy, fuck Alan, fuck Jessica, fuck Baz, fuck... Who's the new one? Dear Lord, there's always a new one. Either way, that is kind of the thing that came out in this era, was that this was the team. This is 96, and they wanted the big guns together again. So you had Superman in a mullet, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, Batman, Flash, all together again. But Grant Morrison would do a lot with his run. let me explain what the first run is about. So, you start out, hey, we're an evil new superhero team come to take over Earth. We're the Hyper Clan. Oh, and we're secretly white Martians. Cool. But, look, I'm going to sum up some amazing moments in this run. You have Batman pulling a Die Hard. Like, I'm not even kidding. There's like a full-on Batman Die Hard reference. You have the Flash. You know those panels where the infinite mass punch come from? Though this is the comic. You have Kyle Rayner declaring with his ring that he is a manga nut in a giant robot. I love this run. It is amazing. You have Wonder Woman choking out a white Martian in space. You have Aquaman giving someone a seizure. It's amazing run. You're seeing basically the JLA at their best. And this inspired a lot of comics. You have to kind of understand, this started the widescreen comic book era, which is a weird era to talk about because it's not a well-known, well, okay, it's kind of well-known, but it's not, but you guys, I just assume people who watch my channel are kind of noobs to this, so if you heard this shit before, I am so sorry. So, the widescreen era of comics was like this. You have this, like, comics were going cinematic, like big panels, big action, big scenes.
Big money, big prizes. I love it.
Like the comic that really inspired it, The Authority, that really took it off. Like people just loved The Authority at the time. They couldn't get enough of it. Man, I wonder what happened to the current writer right no. We're not going to talk about The Authority. But, yeah, widescreen comics. Grant Morrison was always a little bit ahead of the curve. Heck, I would honestly say Grant Morrison still is a little bit ahead of the curve. That person just is like, yo, I am just going to be inspirational. Hey, Jim Lee's X-Men, you have, like, leather jackets on your characters? Well, Animal Man has a leather jacket, and I did it before you. Like I said, he's always been a little bit ahead of the curve. It's crazy. So, Grant Morrison comes out with this comic and basically revolutionized kind of how mainstream comics are. They made them cinematic, widescreen, and huge. Now, this led to a lot of other problems, honestly, like comics wanting to be movies has always kind of been a problem. And this era, oh boy. But, you know, just because other works do something badly doesn't mean you shouldn't give things a shot. A good comic will always be a good comic. But the thing with JLA, it's like this. If you want a good starter DCU comic, this one is actually not too bad. It often informs you who you are. You're often introduced to a lot of characters, even cameos. And you get some really great moments. Like, I still remember the scene where Hitman, Tommy Monahan, comes up to the station and uses his X-ray vision to see Wonder Woman naked, because he has X-ray vision.
I just realized something. My X-ray vision is gone. You sure? I'm sure.
That's a sleazy thing to do. But yeah, that's what you do. You're Hitman. You're a jerk. But that's kind of like what comics were at the time. They were like this really out there, kind of edgy, kind of just cool. And there's a reason why people look fondly back at this era. So let's talk about the niggles of it, though. You'll notice that there are just some parts of it that are affected by other comics. You might be thinking, how bad could it be? And let me introduce you to Electric Blue Superman. So, Electric Blue Superman. back in the 90s, they decided to give Superman new powers and a new costume and be there for the new millennium. It lasted a year. So let me talk about this aspect about it, because some people are probably like, it's not an iconic Superman. I don't like it. Here's the thing about it, though. Grant Morrison at the time was the only writer who took advantage of his new powers. You see, Superman had electromagnetic powers. And this is the only run where you really see him just be amazing with them. You see Superman use the poles of the moon to get it back into orbit with his powers. Not his super strength, his electromagnetic powers. It's so cool. And he then goes down to Earth to fight an angel. I mean, you might notice I'm not talking about stories here. I'm talking about moments. And that's the other thing with this comic. It's made of a lot of great moments. The stories aren't complicated. There's no, there's kind of an ongoing plot, but not really important to it. The comic is basically meant to be, we have the JLA here, and we have them at their best. They fight an amazing villain. You get to see them be clever. You get to see them be cool. And that's what it's about. JLA is about being a cool comic. And whatever else is, sometimes that's all you need. But even then, there's actually some weird symbolism in it. At one point, the Justice League team expands massively. So, you see, Grant Morrison is one of those guys who's like symbolism of superheroes and stuff. So eventually, he turned his JLA into the gods of Olympus, essentially. With each member taking a place as a god. You have Orion, Zariel, Big Barda, Huntress, Steel, Plastic Man. This is the run that made me love Plastic Man. I am now a defender of Plastic Man and everything he stands for. Plastic Man is cool. It's so much good stuff here. And as it goes on, you get to see a growing escalation in threats and various things. You see Plastic Man pull out of his hat like bees don't see the color red and is able to use it for camouflage. You're able to see moments where Huntress is like the bad girl trying to do things. You get to see Prometheus beat up Batman. I know some people are really ticked off about that moment, but you can't have everything. But I'll give up a summary of the comics here because I'm just talking about how cool they are. The comics start out with the Hyper Clan coming down on Earth and the JLA reforming to take them down. After the previous team, who was made up of a bunch of people like Metamorpho, were taken out. After that, they're done. This is followed up by another story called The Key. And, angels also invade. The angels bring with them Zariel. Zariel is this angel dude who was a replacement for Hawkman on the team. You see, Hawkman is... I'm scared of Hawkman. I don't want to explain him. Don't make me explain him today. I'll get to that one day. But please, spare me this. Spare me this pain. I love the character, but I don't want to have to explain this today. Anyway, DC said you couldn't use Hawkman. So he creates Zariel in his place to take the winged angel hero aspect and, adjust it accordingly. Hey, honestly, I'm shocked that they didn't actually just call Zariel Hawkman at some point, but whatever. We're not here to talk about, what ifs. Grant Morrison then added in Aztec, who was a character that was canceled from another comic series he did, to also tie up loose ends on that title. And then there was Rock of Ages.
Top of the morning, ladies. My name is Jacksepticeye, and welcome to Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages is the crux of the run. It's often considered one of the best runs, where the JLA fight Darkseid straight up through time and deal with the anti-life equation. To a lot of people, this is where a lot of Grant Morrison's future ideas come from. And for some people, this is actually one of the definitive Darkseid takes. You get to see the JLA in the future trying to fight him off. It's pretty amazing overall. And you even have like the Injustice gang in there with the Joker suddenly going sane and realizing, ah shit, I shouldn't give the anti-life equation to Darkseid. It is great. Like literally, the Martian Manhunter goes into the Joker's mind and makes him sane. It's amazing. Then you're followed up by runs where they bring back the JSA. The JSA were the original superhero team, the Justice Society of America, back in the 1940s, and they were kind of gone for a long time because they were old. Yeah, apparently old superheroes aren't cool. I'm sorry, people. I hate hearing that too, But yeah, no, like, that is the fun stuff of this. You get to see amazing comics come together, be exposed to deep DC lore. You might not understand it, but honestly, it's just fun. It then culminates in the storyline World War III, where what the title has been building towards is this new... Anyway, Mage Geddon is like an ancient weapon developed in the primordial past who's going to destroy the Earth, and it's up to the JLA to stop him. He's using basically the entire world against the JLA as he drives them crazy. He has already defeated the planet that was meant to guard him, and it's up to the JLA to come together to take him down. And they use every resource they can, culminating in the Earth all getting superpowers to defeat him. That means Batman has superpowers for a moment, and he is scared by them. It's a great series. And that's how it comes out to. And when I talk about comics like these, guess what? I want you to read them. I can go over every story I can, and you can learn about them. But honestly, I think the best way to actually engage these stories is not to just be passive about it. I want you to actually try and read it. You might not like it, and that's fine. Personally, it happens. It might not... Look, whenever you're recommended something, there's always a chance it's not going to be your thing. But I always say, be a little brave, try out things, and maybe you'll develop a taste for it. Maybe you won't, but it happens. If you enjoy my videos, guess what? You can always enjoy my videos. I'm very passionate about this, and I try. But please try out the comics I talk about. They're fun. And JLA is the one I try out. This is the comic that made me a fan of DC Comics. I'm not kidding. I actually started out with a trade of JLA by Mark Waid, and it made me check out the other stuff. And I became a huge fan of the team. I became a Justice League dude. I really like them. And it got me to check out different eras, different versions of the team. It got me to check out the Justice League Detroit team. You know the clip.
Take him to Detroit. No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything but that!
I mean, that's a standard clip, really. But still, you know, like, you do the joke. You know the joke. You go for it. But the JLA is an amazing team. And I am glad that I had the chance to read them like this, to see them at their best. I don't know if there's ever going to be a run that tops this. I hope so one day. I mean, who's on the Justice League right now? Brian Michael Bendis. One day I hope there is a run that actually tops this. I do. I always like to give people chances and to see it. And sometimes you always get that one artist who's like, fuck you, I'm going to go as hard in on this as possible. And I want that title to eventually happen. This is JLA by Grant Morrison. Please check it out. Give it a shot. and understand why people love this run so much. You want the definitive superheroes, well, you get them. Even if Superman is an electric blue dude who doesn't have a cape,
No cape? How does he fly?
he's still Superman. Give this a shot. It might not always be your thing. It might not have your favorites in it all the time. But damn it, Aquaman is cool with the hook hand.